G'day. It's time to down your unders. Review and dissection of content from some of the sharpest minds in the game. Hosted by Adam Camilleri. Art of War. Down Under.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 213 of the Art of War, Down Under podcast. My name is always Adam Camilleri. I'm joined tonight by possibly the most illustrious guest we've ever had on, because we've never had a more impactful guest on the show. Someone who's so integral to the show and to making it work, possibly even more so than I, because I feel like with the skill set this gentleman has, he could polish any turd and make it shine. This is Seamus Ronin, the freaking editor-in-chief of the Art of War content that hopefully you guys have been joining for many years. Hello, mate. Welcome triumphantly to the show.
Hello. How's it going?
Oh, dude, it is my great pleasure to have you on. It's been a long time coming. I should have done this, I probably should have done this in our first 10, 15, 20 episodes, 200 episodes ago, in order for people to get to know you, to get you to appreciate the work that you do, because you do a lot. You do a lot of work. But tell us a little bit about yourself, my man.
Yeah, well, I just want to say I appreciate that, and I appreciate everyone that tunes in every week. Of course, it's awesome to showcase my work like this and do it professionally, too. But a little bit about me. So I'm Seamus. I'm an audio engineer by trade, I guess you could call it. I went to school for it. And I now also work in the live field, so I do live concerts and stuff like that. I've done a lot of studio work in the past, but my focus is more on live stuff, and of course doing freelance work like the podcast, which I have a lot of fun with too.
So freaking cool, man. Sorry, keep going.
No, all you.
All me. You're very used to me interrupting as well. It's been one of your many companions these past 3 years. But yeah, suffice to say, Seamus is my editor, guys, and he's been with me since the start, since episode 1. And he's been polishing my show, making it so that you guys, are listening to quality audio content. It's very important that from this show's conception that I had, hopefully as close as I could at the time, to a professional listening experience for you. And if you're just joining us for the first time, though, I forgot to plug all the wares. Come and join us over a part 2, where our patrons have swamped Seamus with a deluge of funny and or topical questions.
I'm excited.
Funny stuff. Yeah, some of these questions you would have, because a lot of the patrons have trope questions that they ask every week of different people, and now you've listened to everyone else answer them, and now you get to answer them yourself.
Oh, geez, yeah.
That's going to be good. And we're doing this episode because, for a couple of different reasons. First and foremost, this episode's been a long time coming. I've always wanted to interview Seamus, give you guys a peek behind the Iron Curtain. I don't know. It's more like a Wizard of Oz setup than a Soviet setup here. But also let you guys get to know him, connect with him. And hopefully you've appreciated his work over these many years, like I've said. But 213 episodes in, my dude. How's the editing experience going for you? Tell us a little bit about what it takes to edit a podcast.
It's going pretty well. So I do have to say, in the beginning, I was much slower. When I started, I didn't really have a workflow. But with the podcasts, I work in Pro Tools, which is a DAW or digital audio workstation made by AOWdu, and that's typically the industry standard in the audio field. A lot of studios work in Pro Tools, and even in live settings as well.
Yep.
But I also use it to edit because I adore its editing tools. So essentially, I'll get the files from Adam, put them on my hard drive, and I have templates set up for the episodes now, which was something I established very early and saves a lot of time.
I can only assume, yeah.
Oh, yeah, geez. But what we get is we basically have the format. So we get the intro voice, the ads and stuff that are in there. Maybe it's muted because it doesn't appear in part 2 or something. I don't know. I don't think we've ever run ads, but I run ads on the flagship show. The classic Art of War shape.
This is the number one, baby. There ain't no other Art of War show. No.
I think I'm actually quoting Nick when I say flagship.
Yeah, he would say that.
But I go through and I use Avid's editing tools to my advantage here. So my favorite thing in the world is the shuffle tool. Basically, what you do is when you make a cut, it takes the audio and slams it together, so you don't have a gaping hole in the middle.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time, I'm experimenting with the length of silence in between like sentences or phrases or something. Sometimes you can extend it for like comedic effect, or you want it nice and tight because you want to keep the conversation rolling. And then sometimes you just want it to feel natural, like people don't need to always be jumping on each other's
Yeah.
like words like that. But so you work around with that. Hopefully there's not very much outside noise or audio disconnects or someone muted themselves or something. But I mean, when it happens, it happens. And then you get to the end, export it, and ship it out. And it's actually been fun too with the reboot of the show, being able to like pick a different song each week.
Yeah. That is going very well. I do appreciate your fades on the back end of the show have been spectacular. Really enjoying those. I suppose
Yeah,
all the other audio work you do's left you in good stead for something like that.
I actually love how it like fades in to the song. At the very end, it just feels kind of epic.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I actually listen to the song every week.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty lame. How long does it take? So let's say I'm a reasonable human being and give you 2 1-hour podcasts to edit. How long does that take you?
So it does depend. Typically I can go pretty quick and get it in like maybe like an hour and 45, 2 hours if I'm like trucking through and stuff like that. But something, and I'm sort of using that as like a rough thing, right? Because sometimes you just chop off the end, chop off the beginning because there's like blank space there or something. But it doesn't really take me like a ton of time, or else I don't know how I'd be able to survive. But
Yeah, fair.
but when there's a lot of like screw ups or someone doesn't like have good media training where they're using filler words like I probably am all the time right now, like that, it can take much longer, right?
Well,
So, oh, go ahead.
the good news is, mate, you can make yourself sound as good as you like this episode.
Oh yeah, I might keep that filler word bit in because that's good.
That is good.
But one fun thing that I've noticed is that when I am going through the file, when I have identified what the waveform looks like for one person's or like or whatever, I
Yeah,
can just go to it and I just check it and I hear it. I'm like, I knew it. Just get rid of it and
nice.
start moving on. And so that's
That's
kind of
cool.
fun. It's cool to like see the little patterns in the waveforms.
A little detective works. So in saying that, if let's say, so this is 213 episodes.
Mhm.
There are some part 3s that I do exclusively for Patreon, so it's
Mhm.
very much more than this. And there are times, especially in the early days, where I was doing 2 or 3 hours an episode, and I still sometimes push that. But that's a minimum. That's almost, we're talking about a minimum here of 426 hours of work that you've done just on this show, not counting Nick's show, Nick's non-flagship show, over the past 3 or more years. What's kept you going? What's kept your interest in this, apart from obviously being paid?
So actually, fun story, but like, so my parents are nerds. They always have been. Um, the story goes that there was like a Carnifex T-shirt that one of my parents was wearing, like the night I was born or whatever, and I actually own the T-shirt. It's like a second edition Carnifex
That's
T-shirt or something like that.
cool.
It's really cool, or Hive Tyrant or some big Tyranid monster, right? But they've always been into like quote unquote like nerdy stuff, like sci-fi, fantasy.
Mm.
And my mom has especially always been into 40K. Like she used to play second edition games back in the day. And I just think it's so cool. She even has like all her books from back then too, which is awesome. So it's always just kind of been like a present thing. Like we've always just followed the new releases when we get into these
Yep.
phases. Like over COVID is when I like really got into painting heavy, and I painted a lot of Gene Stealer Cult because I'm really into the movie Alien and I feel like they fit that aesthetic perfect.
They really
Um
do.
they're awesome. So I painted a bunch of Gene Stealer Cult, but then as like, I had to start reintegrating into society again. I kind of fell off the wagon a bit and got busy with like finishing up college and starting my like professional career and whatnot. So I kind of fell off the wagon, but always have enjoyed 40K media. When like 40K
Mm.
video games come out, or when like Warhammer Plus stuff was coming out, I would always watch that stuff with my mom. But recently, I've like gotten really into 40K again because of the new video game that came out. So I'm working on trying to get some Blood Angels going. But we can save that combo for later.
Yes, we can. Is your mum going to be listening to this?
She will probably check it out. Yeah.
Okay, this is your chance to say hi, mum.
Oh, hey mom, how's it going?
That's cute as hell. I love that. I thank you very much for that Genesis story as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So what other nerddoms are you into apart from 40K?
Oh,
Because
so
you are widespread.
Yeah, so I have eclectic tastes, right? I really like JRPGs, Final Fantasy, Persona, that sort of stuff. I really like fighting games. That's probably my biggest hobby right now is playing fighting games like semi-competitively. Uh Music too. I'm a musician, have been playing since I was in middle school, so like around 7th grade or whatever. So that's cool too. Uh, and I also really like building Gundam model kits, which I think is probably
Mm,
also connected to the 40K hobby.
100%.
so,
100%.
so that's a lot of fun. I always do all the panel lining on those too. They just look so nice.
Dude,
Um,
fantastic.
but yeah, so I'm into a lot of different stuff. But I gotta say, like out of all the hobbies I participate in now, it's probably fighting games is my biggest
Mm,
one that I dedicate time to. And a really interesting thing that I see when I'm especially listening to the competitive show is that I see so many parallels with how I look at fighting games and how I look and how the 40K players look at their game as well.
oh, that's cool. Yeah, explain. Like, what are the
So
parallels?
yeah, so like for instance, like one of my favorite analogies I like to make is like don't blame your game on bad dice, right?
Mm,
Bad dice are an uncontrollable thing, like you can roll bad, And in fighting games there's also a bit of that too. Like I oftentimes like when people complain about characters being like really good, like oh, this is such a top tier, like it's so cheesy, blah blah blah. I always say like you could just, play that character, like that's in your control. But ultimately like there are situations in the game where when two characters are fighting one does have like a hard counter to another or something and you just have to learn to play around that just like you have to learn
mm.
to play around bad dice, right? Like maybe
Yep.
if it's a risky don't overexpose yourself sort of thing. And so lots of little things like that and like being civil and polite with the opponents and stuff and having good sportsmanship. And it's really cool. I remember I talked to one of the hosts of one of the podcasts I've done over the years. There's been a bunch and they were talking about competitive stuff. I think it was Unbroken, maybe. Um,
Nice.
but
Venerable
yeah,
out of
oh,
all
totally.
Unbroken.
Yes,
RIP.
loved that show though. That was so much fun. Blake is great. Shout out. But I remember hitting one of them up and being like, "Hey, like I see so many parallels. Like this is so cool. Like I actually appreciate this like quite a bit." And we had like a good back and forth about it too. So that was really fun. But yeah, I've actually gone to a couple local fighting game tournaments before the venue unfortunately closed down in my area. But yeah, so that's cool. I placed like fourth, I think was my highest, and that felt really
Nice.
good. Never was able to break to top three, but I'm still proud of like what I was able to achieve, and I think that's the best mindset to have going into it.
What was the fighting game?
Tekken 8 is the one that I primarily play right now.
Man, they're up
The
to 8.
yeah,
These
I
keep
know,
going,
right?
baby.
I think the first one came out in '93.
I remember playing, I think, Tekken 2 in an arcade,
That's
sitting on a
awesome.
stool that was affixed to the ground across from somebody else. And
Hell
I got my
yeah.
ass beat because I didn't know anything about the game. I was just mucking around, trying to do some down forward punch, which is the wrong game.
Yeah, that's down forward one is one of the best moves in Tekken, don't get me wrong.
I was still got my ass handed to me, but there we go. Every fighting game's got a down forward punch, right?
Yeah, right. Tekken's is just
Uh,
particularly important.
nice.
But yeah,
Yeah, okay.
well, real quick, off the top of your head, do you remember what character you messed around with in Tekken?
It was a big guy with long hair. That's it. That's
Oh,
it.
jeez.
Spiky at the front, long at the back. That's all I remember.
Oh, geez. I don't know off the top of my head. It's crazy. I'll have to do some digging later. But yeah, that's so
Uh,
cool.
I sent you on a tangent. I sent you on a side quest.
You're
That
not
was 20 years ago.
That's so
So
fair.
my recollection of a single game of Tekken that I played 20 years ago may not be iron tight.
Yeah.
But what is your connection to 40K? Like, how did you get into 40K? How did you get into 40K, like editing and podcasting? Like, because this is a
So
very obscure thing.
yeah. So actually, I was in college at the time, and I had switched my major from music education to sound engineering. Right. I had always
Yep.
known that I wanted to do music, but didn't exactly know what I wanted to do. And then when I got to learn how much paperwork you had to do as a teacher, I was like, no thanks. So I switched to
Yeah.
sound engineering, which I think is a much better fit for myself personally. Um, but I was working a summer job at the same office that my parents worked at because they just needed like temps to purge some files in the database or something and scan them, make them digital or something, database entry stuff. But I was on Facebook one day at work, slacking off at my summer job in college.
Yep.
And on Facebook, I see a post from some my friend. The name escapes me, but I see a post from someone that was like, "Hey, I'm looking to start a 40K podcast or something, and I need an editor. And I immediately was like, hey, I can do this. This sounds like fun. And before long, I got in contact with the guy, and he said, hey, like, this won't be paid right away, but I will reward you in the future. And I was just more down to get my feet wet in the industry, which, I mean, it's probably not super smart to take the job with no pay, but I mean, it's paid off now. But I started working with him, and it's been history ever since. We ran
Mm,
through a bunch of different shows. Like, we had a daily show at one point, which was a ton of
yeah.
fun. We had different guests on every day. We featured like the community's painted models that they submitted. That was a really fun one. And then worked with Art of War Network basically since its inception. Gone through like all those shows, did Unbroken, of course, Down Under, and some little spin-off shows here and there. Like I remember doing a Kill Team uh
Yep.
episode or a podcast with Blake at one point, that sort of thing. Just picking up little projects, and it's been honestly quite a boon. Like people in the network and that know the network that like want projects will hit me up, and I most of the time will say yes, like 99% of
That's
the time,
awesome. Yeah.
because I am one of those people who will like never say no to an opportunity I think is cool. And
Yep.
I often think that working in my field and doing stuff that pertains to my interests is super cool, so I always say yes.
That is excellent. That's really cool that you've been able to just jump in like that and
Mhm.
been drawn into the scene so thoroughly. And an excellent mindset, by the way. I'm not saying no to opportunities. I think that's something
Yeah.
like that just goes way beyond anything we're talking about now. It's just a thing to live your life by. Like when you get an opportunity, unless it's going to kill you, give it a crack. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I appreciate that for sure. And I know that especially longtime listeners will know when I've had like accidental slip ups and stuff, because like I was like stressed out like in finals
Yeah.
week at school and stuff.
Yep.
But like I've learned to like manage my time better and
Mm,
understand like the work that needs to be done, and to like not take the show for granted, because it is like one of
mm.
my favorite things, and it would be very sad to lose it. So I try to keep it as best as possible.
When you mean like letting something slip, like if I put a fuck in or a
Yeah,
cunt
yeah.
or fuck me,
Oh my
cunt,
god.
fuck me,
Oh.
fuck.
Exactly, actually. Exactly like
17,
that.
sorry, timestamp 1728 for you later, mate.
Okay, good, yeah. I'm just gonna put that in my notes app.
Hey, I've gotten a lot better. There's actually a lot of questions on the other side about how much of my nonsense you need to edit out every week. We'll leave this over there.
Oh,
You
yeah.
talk about Space Marine 2.
Mhm.
I'm assuming you finished the game.
Yeah, and my friends have been playing it too and doing like the PvE operations, so when I get home from work and I see them on, I'm like, I hope you have a spot open.
Nice. What are you playing as? So obviously Blood Angel, but what's your spec?
So I'm like kind of weird. So all my PvE Marines are all Death Watch Marines of various chapters,
Sick.
and all my PvP Marines are from the regular chapters. So
Yeah.
off the top of my head, my tactical is an Iron Raven, which is a cool Raven Guard successor. I really like the scheme of that. My assault is a Blood Angel, of course. My Vanguard, I believe, is a Blood Raven, which is cool. I've always liked the Dawn of War games, and the Blood Ravens were made for that, so it's awesome. My Bulwark, I switch between a Black Templar and a Dark Angel in the Deathwing
Yep.
drip, because that looks so cool. My Heavy, I think I also have as a Blood Angel, because I really like the blue helmet, but I had that as an Imperial Fist before. I also like that scheme quite a bit. And then my Sniper, I have as a Raven Guard. They're sneaky ones.
Nice. They are the sneaky
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah,
Uh,
I love being thematic and stuff, so it's perfect for me.
Fantastic. And so you're jumping back into actual 40K, so playing and buying some 40K. You want to do some Blood Angels?
Yes, absolutely. So my brother and I, because my brother's getting into it too, he's playing Black Templars.
Sick.
My mom had a sealed Indomitus box in the house. And and she was like, hey guys, just putting this idea out there. If you want to go halvesies on the Leviathan box and I trade you all the Marines from Indomitus, would you be down? And so we did that.
Excellent. So between
And
you,
so-
you have a Leviathan and Indominus box to start off
Yep.
with.
Yeah, and we already like
Excellent.
made a spreadsheet and split up who gets what, and yeah, I'm very excited to start up the hobby again.
So good. I mean, it's probably like contrast has been added since COVID, so it's actually very easy to get your blood. Actually, blood Angels
yeah.
is always a pretty easy scheme. You just get a
Yeah.
rattle can, Mephiston red. You're halfway there.
Oh yeah.
anything you're really excited about in Blood Angels in particular? Like, have you looked over the new codex or anything like that?
Yeah, so I've actually been doing some research, and one of my favorite parts of the Blood Angels are the Death Company, and I love that
Of
they have a
course.
Death Company detachment. And I'm not trying to be super duper competitive, more fluffy probably.
Mhm.
My competitive outlet is Tekken right now,
Yeah.
so it'll be fun to just roll dice at the game store or whatever. But I think doing the Death Company detachment would be really fun, just because I love the vibe of the Death Company and like what they are, and they have like Death Company dreadnoughts and stuff, and that's cool too. So I think that would be fun. And another thing I'm excited about in general is just jump packs.
Mm.
Jump packs are
Sick.
so cool.
They are so cool. They are so very cool. I wish they had a Redemptor Death Company Marine. Sorry,
Oh,
Death Company Redemptor
that would be
chassis.
so sick. I think the Redemptor
I know.
dreadnoughts look so cool.
Dang, I don't.
Oh, really? Oh, damn. To each
Yeah.
their own. I mean, the
To each their
classics
own.
are always great too.
Yeah. Have you
But
looked at any
yeah.
of the Horus Heresy Blood Angel stuff?
No, actually, I haven't really gotten
Ooh,
into the Horus Heresy stuff. My mom has like all the books. She's read through all of them.
nice.
So
Well,
I
you
could
can just
at
go
any
to her
time I
for
could get
inspiration.
into it. But yeah.
Yeah.
The
So yeah,
30K
she's got
stuff
it.
is cool though.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of it that like model wise actually makes the transition to 40K very well. Like if you wanted to make, I suppose, Black Sangard, there are
Mm,
models over there. I'm just trying to look them up for you now.
that would be
But yeah,
cool.
there's a bunch of really cool models there, and they've got a jump pack Contemptor Dreadnought. Yeah,
Excuse me?
yes, dude, yes,
A jump pack
yes.
dreadnought sounds crazy.
I know. Why have we not done this yet?
Yeah,
Like,
how did they lose
why
that
is this
tech in the 41st millennium?
correct? Well, they're only on a Contemptor chassis. They don't have any Contemptor chassis anymore.
Oh, that's valid.
Well, they do, but they're only in Custodians and they suck at the moment, despite being
That's so
gorgeous.
tragic.
I know. It is so nice. All right, Loyalist Space Marine Legions. Here we go. Blood Angels. We are doing a little bit of a side gig here, of course. And of course,
Yeah.
one day you're going to want to get Sanguinius, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I think the Blood
sure.
Angels characters are so cool.
Me too.
Like Asterath and Lamardus and
Yeah, go and look up the Dawnbreaker cohort. If you wanted to like paint them black and then just pick out all their filigree and stuff as gold and just have them thematically be like Fallen Sangard, like Death Company Sangard, and
Ooh,
then just play them as the Sangard rules, it would look sick. And I think they do come with
that would
spears
be
as
really
well.
cool.
Yeah, they do. They definitely have the yeah, they do come with spears as well. So you get to either the spear or the sword option, the same as the current Sangard data sheet does, because they only come as 3s or 6s now.
Ooh, that works out great then.
It does. It works out real good, man.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Transitioning, what has it meant to you, I guess, in your professional life, to be an editor for Art of War?
It's been cool, and it's always like another good thing to put on the resume too, showing that I'm more well-rounded in audio rather than just focus solely on one field. But like I said earlier, it's just really fun to work on something that sort of relates to a hobby or interest of mine,
Yeah.
and it's often nice to get home and like even though I have editing to do after I get home from like running concerts or something, it's fun to just like kick back and you know edit the stuff, and I laugh at the jokes too. Sometimes you guys are freaking hilarious.
Never me, though, obviously.
Yeah, there's been many a times when I will like take a Snapchat of the audio and be like, oh my god, I can't believe they are doing this right now.
Obviously, mostly on part 2, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And then I also love when you guys like include me in the show as like a bit, like, oh, Seamus, cut that out, and then
Yeah.
depending on whether it's funny or enough or not, I'll leave it in.
Exactly right. Yeah, I try and make it obvious when it's a bit.
Yeah.
When it's meant to be taken out. Excellent. No, it's been a lot of fun having you along. Also, need to let everybody know that the music that you hear on the front of the show, and then before I started putting my brother's music on the back, you made all that music, didn't you?
Yeah. So actually, another realm that I dabble in. I used to do it way more back in college, but doing like the live stuff and editing has sort of been more of my main focus now. But I used to produce a lot of music. I've actually produced music with a couple of artists that I worked with in college that were my classmates. And I actually currently work with a friend of mine who is basically on track to like make an album right now. So I'm working on her stuff. But
Fantastic.
I've made a bunch of music, like electronic music, hip hop, pop. Never really done like rock or metal stuff because that oftentimes requires more live instruments. So I've stayed in the like electronic realm, but I have a lot of fun doing it. And fun story, but when I initially got the Art of War job. They were like, hey, we need intro music and we want it to be like synth wavy and sort of remind us of like Tron or something cool like that. And I'm like,
Yep.
okay, that's awesome. I love that. So I got to work and I think I made 5 sketches, right? I even have the session still saved on my computer as Art of War sketches. And I presented all of them to Art of War and they were like, we want sketch number 3. I'm like, awesome. And then that's the song that's in the intro and outro.
Yep.
And then as the subsequent shows pulled up, I thought, instead of producing more music, why not just use the other sketches? Because I was using very similar like sound palettes to sort of make them cohesive and to stick with that sort of synth wavy theme. So I went in and basically just polished up some of those sketches and made them more complete and then presented them to like Unbroken and Down Under and stuff. And then you guys picked the tunes you liked, and that's history.
There you go. So good. In homage to Seamus, at the back end of this show, in addition to my brother's song, you should put in a couple of your bits and pieces. Feel free to slap in whatever songs and whatever little bits and pieces that you've made that you've always loved but never gotten to show off. So strap those in. Let's go. Let's pop it off. Yeah, that'll be fun for you. Giving you more work.
The hardest part is going to be finding some of those ancient session files.
Yeah, well, only if you can be bothered, mate. If you can't be stuffed, totally fine too. But I mean, one of the things that I've really enjoyed is I've tried to take the front foot on paying people. And so if you guys don't know, and I suppose this is maybe the only time I've ever mentioned this on the show, anybody who I have on the show who is paid in some way for their 40K opinion, their insight, their work, like if I ever have one of the Art of War boys on, Matt Morrisoli, Inez Wilson, the guys of that caliber who are professional 40K players, Scary, etc. A lot of the time these people turn me down, but anytime they're on my show, I offer to pay them usually 50 USD. 50 USD for being on, a 2-part episode with me. And I'm trying to push that as, a standard that I want to maintain. And it's been really validating for me, especially when you were going through college. And I know you weren't, no one going through college is very financially flush unless you're like the senator's kid or something. So it was really gratifying to me to be like, I'm genuinely, doing a little bit to make sure this guy eats better during his college years. And I know Art of War's paid you as well. Has that been a beneficial thing for you? Have you actually made a difference in the life of Seamus, Ronin?
Oh, totally. Yeah, like between Art of War, like the Art of War network in general, like they have basically paid my student loan and car payment for a while. So that's been good to have like that extra money to use on like the bills and then be able to save more from like the live gigs that I do. So that's been really cool.
I'm so happy to hear, dude. So very happy to hear we've been able to, because you support us so entirely and thoroughly. It's only fair, that we can hopefully do the same thing back. And then this is me throwing down the gauntlet to other podcasts. I offer to pay people to come on if they are of a quality, if they are being paid for their time, for their 40K knowledge in other realms. They deserve to be paid on my show because I'm here to harvest their 40K brains. And so it's only fair. It's only fair if they're worth being paid. They're worth being paid. It doesn't matter which show they're on. And I will say that a lot of people do turn me down. Like Inez is famous for turning me down, but I would make sure I buy him a couple of drinks at WTC every year. And same for like Anti Vanilla and stuff like that. I mean, John Lennon just like blew a couple of tires on his car. And then
no.
Yeah. And so he messaged me and be like, how many episodes was I on? I'm like, how much do you need, buddy? I just send him off some cash in thanks for all his incredible support. So enough of me, spruiking the way we try and practice on this show. Tell us about your day job. Night job.
Yeah, that's so true. So I work at an amusement park right now in the States, and my title is an entertainment technician. So I essentially work on projects around the park and mostly involving shows. So I'll help with like the installation, the operation, and the strike of shows. So the setup, the actual show itself, and the teardown.
Yep.
So at the beginning of the season, we'll set up all the stages, get everything nice and pretty, ready to go. We run the whole season, do all the shows, run special events that come through, and then we tear down at the very end of the season, and I need to find a winter job. I wish they ran through the winter, but it's been a great boon to me. I've met so many super talented musicians, talented engineers, some, professionals that have been in the industry for decades, which has been really good to pick their brains and whatnot. But this year I've been working on the main stage at the park, and so that involves like a full band. So this summer we had a band consisting of guitar, bass, trumpet, trombone, saxophone, drums, a keyboard player, and an auxiliary percussionist with 4 singers and then 8 dancers. So it's a lot
Cool.
of personnel, and it's cool to like meet everyone and interact with them, and pick their brains about their fields and whatnot. But
Mm.
then for the Halloween show, it's a little bit of a simpler setup, but it's such a cool show. We have like a rock show on the main stage. It's 2 guitars, bass, drums, and keytar, which is awesome. It's the first
Mm.
time I've ever worked with a keytar, which is so cool. But
What the
yeah,
hell's a
so
guitar?
a keytar, it's like like a synthesizer,
Yeah.
but you wear it like a guitar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yep,
it's pretty
fair.
cool. If you want some homework, look up Herbie Hancock keytar. You'll find it. He's like the OG keytar player.
Well, in saying that, is there anywhere people can go to listen to some of your stuff?
Oh, sure. So I can actually, I have some music that I've produced that I can check out. You can find us on Spotify and Apple Music and stuff. But in college, I worked with this woman named Chloe B. So Chloe, CHLOEBBEE. And I did 2 songs for her that got released on Spotify and whatnot, Wet Cement and Ruin Me. I produced those and mixed them and all that, and worked with the production side of that sort of stuff, and that was a lot of fun. And then more currently, I'm working with this woman named Diana Flowers on Spotify. And so that's Diana Flowers, FLWRS, so no vowels in the last name. And we only have 1 tune out right now, but we are releasing a second very soon. So that'll be cool too.
Stupendous, man. So good. What are your aspirations? Like, what are your dreams? What's your dream job?
Yeah, so I think ideally where I want to be professionally is at like a big venue or touring with a band or something. I just think that would be so much fun to do, especially, professionally, like working at like the sort of like upper echelon of that
Hmm.
sort of field. Long ago, I did have more studio aspirations, but I feel like that world is sort of shrinking more and more because
Yeah.
recording technologies are becoming more accessible at home, which is awesome. And so I use my personal like music production stuff as my sort of studio outlet, and have been focusing more on doing the live stuff and trying to enter that world more.
Okay, so if you could be the load in for any artist, band, production ever in history, let's just go in history, past and or present, who would it be?
Ooh. So I think if I could like run one show from like any band in history, that's a tough one. I like a lot of music, man. But
Fair.
I think it would be so much. Actually, I think this band still is around, but it would be so much fun to mix a show for Jamiroquai.
Ooh,
They're
I was expecting a Zeppelin. I was expecting a Queen. I was even expecting maybe a Daft Punk or something like that.
true.
But
That would be a
no,
cool show too. You're not wrong. But so
Jamiroquai. Okay.
yeah, so I mean, for reference, like the instrument I play is the saxophone. I'm actually on a couple records. You can listen to me on Will Wood's The Normal album. That's a fun one. But I play saxophone, and because of that, I have always had like a love for like funk music and jazz and stuff
Yeah.
too, even though I studied classical music in college. And I feel like Jamiroquai, that like acid jazz vibe of the 90s is just so much fun. And I think that like mixing that show with all the moving parts and horns and bass and synth, and I just think it would be so fun. And also their music is awesome.
Excellent. How old are you?
I am 27. I just turned 27 in August.
Damn, I wouldn't have thought you were old enough to appreciate be around for like Jamiroquai. What year were you born?
97.
97. Easily. Yeah, I was born in 87. Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay.
I wouldn't have thought you were around for the heyday of the 90s
Well,
weird funk,
see,
techno, house,
I
grunge,
wasn't.
whatever the crap.
I wasn't around, but I'm super curious about everything. So
You are a nerd.
yeah.
That's right.
So like so many times this thing happens where I'll be just like scrolling through YouTube shorts or something, and some song will be on. I'm like, oh my god, that's so cool. I need to Shazam that immediately. And then I'm like obsessed with that artist for like the next couple of weeks.
Okay, what's your most recent obsession?
I have been like really into EDM again. I've been kind of getting back on the EDM train. And so I've been listening to this guy named Sammy Vergy. He's a UK garage artist, and his album, I believe it's called Spice Up My Life. It's incredible. The vibes are awesome. And I've listened to that record so many times now at this point. And I discovered it 2 weeks ago.
Well, we're going to start wrapping this up. So, Seamus, giving people an insight into your life, into the things that make you you, anything you want to tell the people about yourself?
Anything to tell them about myself. So I don't know if I have anything to share about myself, but at least the thing that I always think about that guides me is that if you like want something, you can just practice and do it. I have proven this to myself like time and time again, and I always feel like being a musician is a big part of it, but like knowing how to practice and like wanting to like get better at something is like such a driving force in my life. So like I always think like, like if I'm like not succeeding at something, there's got to be a way to get better. Like I'm maybe at a plateau, but I can always go further.
That's excellent. I love that perspective.
Yeah, and so like I said, I see it in like so many aspects of my life. Like in college, I was really into longboarding and like doing like longboard freestyle and dancing stuff. And when I had first started, I like could barely ride, but I wanted to do the cool stuff. So I stuck with it and just practiced effectively, which can be hard to do. Like you can get diminishing returns, and it's important to like rest in between practice and whatnot. But that I got like decent. Like for the skaters in the audience, I was able to do like fakey big spins and stuff on a 46-inch longboard, which was like a really cool moment. And I fell a lot, but it was fun.
A fakey big spin. Pwah. I've no idea what that is.
Yeah, it's
sounds impressive.
The board goes 360 degrees, your body goes 180 degrees in the same direction.
Oh, okay.
So it's like you switch stances and spin it a bunch.
Damn. Okay.
But yeah, and then like in like fighting games, like it's like, oh cool, I want to get better. So, you just practice and have fun. And as long as you're like having fun, enjoying what you're doing and practicing and getting better, like you're set. Like that's it.
On that beautiful note, we're going to wrap up this part one. Stay tuned for some good old Seamus tunes alongside one of my brother's tracks to follow. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed this insight behind the curtain to the man who makes it all go, the beautiful Seamus Ronin. You're an absolute legend, mate. I would not be here without you. I'm very grateful for your efforts and for your work making me sound like I know what I'm doing. So thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate having you on, and have a great night.
No, thank you. This has been great. I appreciate you having me on. Peace out, everyone.
To break and fall. And correct, they wanna kick you where you are. Full steam ahead, release the pressure on the educator. The cops no longer turn.
I think you muted yourself.
I did mute myself because I was clearing my throat.
Oh,
I
gotcha.
was saving you work, Seamus.
And I gave
Gosh.
myself